Good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Flash News. I am Oyi Okbala. As the U.S. elections come to a close, the reality of President-elect Donald Trump's campaign promises is starting to sink in. One issue that's taking center stage is deportation. With just 50 days to go before the new administration takes office, millions of people are holding their breath, wondering if they will be allowed to stay in the U.S. or be sent back to their home countries. The deportation debate has been a contentious issue, with Trump making it a signature campaign promise, just like he did in 2016, as the Biden administration's deportation numbers are on pace to match those of Trump's. Well, it is clear that this issue isn't going away anytime soon. Stay tuned as we give some in-depth analysis to this story after this short break. President-elect Donald Trump has confirmed his intention to declare a national emergency and utilize military assets to carry out mass deportation, a key promise from his 2024 election campaign. This announcement comes after Tom Felton, president of Judicial Watch, posted about the incoming administration's plans to watch, and to which Trump responded with a simple "true" on his social media platform. Trump's plans for immigration enforcement are far-reaching, with proposals to reduce legal immigration, not just that, tighten asylum policies and increase border security measures. His administration may also introduce stricter requirements for employment-based visas, such as HIV visas, and prioritize merit-based immigration over family-based sponsorship. Trump's immigration crackdown can be said to be a radical shift in policy. But just in case some of us do not understand the force in which he said this, let us take a look at some of his videos on his thoughts on deportation and immigration.
The Republican platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. We must use any and all resources needed to stop the invasion, including moving thousands of troops currently stationed overseas.
But I think the idea is to leverage resources that the military has to bolster what immigration and customs enforcement and Department of Homeland Security more generally have. We do have to remember back to the experience of the first Trump administration. They attempted to use the National Guard. In fact, then Governor Kristi Noem sent the South Dakota National Guard to support border control efforts. And generally that is remembered as a sort of a non-entity.
We will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. Every president I've worked for said they're going to secure the border. President Trump actually did it. And guess what? He's going to do it again.
Oh, well, let's analyze this. President-elect Donald Trump's plan for a mass deportation operations are just the tip of the iceberg. Well, according to a recent report, Trump's allies and advisors are also preparing to sharply reduce legal migration into the U.S. Now, let's recount Trump's stand on immigration. The proposals drafted by groups including the America First Policy Institute includes a total ban on refugee resettlement, a pause on accepting applications for categories of immigration with large backlogs, and a ban on travelers from certain Muslim-majority countries. These plans could represent a radical shift in U.S. immigration policy. Even for the Trump administration, during his first term, by the way, Trump lowered the ceiling on refugee resettlement and expanded the public charge regulation, allowing immigration officials to deny green cards to immigrants suspected of receiving public assistance. Should we take a look at the key proposals again? Total ban on refugee resettlement. Trump allies are proposing a complete halt on refugee resettlement in the U.S. A pause on immigration application. The proposals include a pause on accepting applications for categories of immigration with large backlogs, including asylum and employment-based green card for Indian tech workers. Ban on travelers from Muslim majority countries. You can imagine that as well. Trump's allies are proposing a ban on travelers from certain Muslim majority countries, a policy that was first introduced during Trump's first term. So these proposals have sparked concern amongst immigration advocates and experts who warn that they could have severe consequences for the U.S. economy and society. Should we even be surprised? Well, through personal announcement, the president-elect has put together a team of loyalists and had aligners to implement a second-term immigration crackdown that we discussed last week on Flash News. If you missed it, go back and take a look at all we discussed about those that has been appointed. But then, let's get into the numbers for today. According to estimates by the American Immigration Council, deporting 1 million people a year could cost more than $960 billion over a decade. Well, Trump at various points claimed he would deport at least 15 million and even as many as 20 million people who are in the US illegally. But the figure is, for now unverified. There were an estimated 11 million people living in the United States, according to a report, without authorization as of 2022. Well, according to an analysis that I saw and reviewed by Pew Research Migration to the U.S. border, it reached record levels in 2022 and 2022 and 2023, I beg your pardon, before dropping drastically in 2024, following stepped-up enforcement by Mexico and an asylum clampdown by the Biden administration. So, technically speaking, it is unclear who the Trump administration would target for deportation. His campaign trail rhetoric often failed to distinguish between immigrants who have lawful status and those in the country illegally. And throughout the campaign, Trump claimed that immigrants crossing the U.S. southern border in recent years were driving up crime. Even though violent crime is down across the country and studies show immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than the U.S. citizens, by the way, but then you can put the blame on them. Questions remains about how the raids would be conducted and where people would be detained. Questions are rising here and there. Civil liberties advocates have already raised concerns about people with lawful status or even U.S. citizens being swept off in a sprawling dragnet. Meanwhile, on the other end, advocates have pushed back against Trump's assertion that he enters office with a mandate to carry out mass raids. They point to data that has found most people do not support mass deportation. Do you support mass deportation? Oh, well, while you're trying to answer that, especially when respondents are informed about the potential impact on the economy, the workforce, and the American families are going to have a hard time right now. For us here on ABC Amba TV, this is important because Trump has repeatedly said he would begin deportation on his first day in office, which is just around the corner. That's 20th January 2025. And this is closer than we think. But then, even if a U.S. administration was able to legally move ahead with these plans, authorities will still have to contend with enormous logistical challenges. For example, experts are doubtful that the ICE's 20,000 agents and support personnel would be enough to find and track down millions of undocumented migrants. Well, this particular one, because it says it's going to, start from the first day in office. So we are watching closely to see how this would go. Logistics is going to be a great concern, but let's see how he pulls through with this deportation of immigrants. Well, that's all we have for Flash News this afternoon. Remember that Undaunted comes up at top of the hour, 8 p.m. Amber time. Do have a wonderful day.